Hey, what's up? I tried to, when I started this, I wanted to kind of make it go in chronological order, and I wanted it to, I had a plan, and I don't really fucking have the time. I just want to get out to people what this country was originally, and I'm talking way fucking back. I don't even think kids today even understand or grasp what the purpose of the country was. And time slips by, Our forefathers, what they created was really fucking cool because they didn't have it. There is nowhere else in the world that had something like this. Now it's been duplicated, and now there's sovereigns, and there's prime ministers, but what they were trying to do that's been lost in the scuffle is, you notice how there's a lot of diversification in people, okay? If you really get to meet people and know people, there's a lot of people with a lot of different views and different feelings about things, okay? And they knew that back then, and they said, look, to build another country, okay, and lump everybody together and make them all follow one fucking rule isn't gonna work. They knew it. They knew it. They were that smart that they knew that it's not gonna work. So they said, well, all right, well, here's what we'll do. We'll take these states, we'll take this land that we have, we'll divide them into states, okay? We'll divide them into states, and each state can run their fucking part of the world the way they see fit. Now, obviously, within reason, you can't have cannibals or raping or, shit like that. But in general, they could be more liberal, they could be more conservative, they could be, we could stranglehold them or we could not strangle. You know what I mean? There was lots of variables. And that was a great idea. And they said, we'll have it called the United States. So, y'all can do your own thing. Y'all can go to the state that you feel comfortable with, and everybody will be happy. Or more or less. You're not going to make everybody happy, but, we'll at least come closer to the mark. Well, somewhere between that and what we have today, things went horribly wrong. And to even call this the United States of America is a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke on all of us. And I don't think anyone really even understands it. Now, I know y'all think Lincoln's a fucking hero. But if you really peel the onion, Lincoln's a fucking dickhead. There's a lot of things about Lincoln that I question, that I just don't understand. Now, I'm going to voice this just to make sure everybody's fucking clear. Because I don't want to hear any fucking backlash from anybody. Slavery was fucking horrible, okay? What the South and how some of the South treated the blacks was horrific. It was equal to the Holocaust, okay? I admit that, okay? But also, slavery at the time was used worldwide, okay? So if you're going to equate things, you have to put them in the time period that it was happening, okay? You have to look at where we were at in society, okay? And how we had evolved at that point as a nation. You can't look at it in today's terms where people sit at home and get checks for doing nothing while we take money from some people and give it to other people just because we're fucking nice people. And our government just throws money around like it's no tomorrow, so nobody has to get off their fucking ass and do anything. It wasn't like that back then. You had in England, when slavery, or what was considered a servant at the time, was really a cool fucking job because you had three choices. Back then, you either came from money, which means there was money in your family, whether you were wealthy or had enough to stay above water, or you were a peasant and you walked around and begged for bread, or you were a servant, which means most of the servants got a place to live. They could have a family. They could have, that was kind of like the Union, you know? I'm not saying that they were all treated equally. I wasn't there, and I don't know how it went down, but there was a lot of servants, I believe, that were very happy. Very happy. They didn't have to lay in the gutter and wait for somebody to throw a crumb of bread at them. Now, something happened between that and slavery. Went horribly, horribly wrong. And I hate to say this, I don't think every slave owner was a fucking asshole, okay? I still think slavery was wrong. I still don't think that's the way you treat human beings. But I don't think every slave owner in the world was a fucking asshole, okay? Were they overworked? Were they underpaid? Yeah. In today's standards, of course they were. Now, I don't know what went wrong with the rest of the fucking South, okay? I don't understand that. But that's for another day. We're going to get into that, okay? Right now, I want to explain the point of the country, okay? Now, up until a little bit before Lincoln, okay, our federal government was formed, and the point of it was for the states were new. They were very new, and they were having trouble with a lot of issues that they didn't really have answers to. They didn't really know, because it's a new country. And they couldn't even look to other countries for how to do it, because the blueprint we were using, there was no other countries. So they said, well, let's form like a little, like an organization that can oversee, and now there was a key word that was dangerous as hell, okay, to oversee and kind of help them and put their heads together and try to guide them on which way to go on some of these issues. At the time, it sounded like a good idea. A lot of our forefathers came forward right away and said, whoa, you're forming a central government. Now, if the central government is pretty close to a king, you lose the value of the United States. You know what I mean? You're back to a dictator that tells the whole country what the fuck to do. But they did need help, so they formed it, and it was I think it was a part-time summer fucking thing, you know. But it grew, and there was a lot for them to deal with. There was a lot of problems, and I get all that. I understand all that. But then Lincoln came along, and I have questions. Why did the rest of the world slowly, through evolution and through time, and just it became outdated, do away with slavery, but we're the only country that had to kill a third of the male population in the country to free them? Well, why is that? Why did it have to come to that? Why did Lincoln buy some of the northern states? Okay, the amount of the cost of the war, and the amount of bloodshed, and the amount of death, and the amount of expense to rebuild the country, why didn't he just pay the South off? These are questions I ask. Why didn't he just pay them to stop using slaves? If he was such a fucking humanitarian, okay? If he was such a great carer and lover of all, why would he bring all that bloodshed? Why, all of a sudden, and I'm not the most educated person, but I've read a lot. And the problem when you pick up a history book in America, and I didn't realize this till now, if you pick up a book and don't read a history book that's for school, because that's been predetermined by people that sat and went through them and said, use this. Kind of like the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholics took the fucking religion and ripped pages out of it and switched things around and threw books out and said, here, this is the one we're going to use. Okay? That's what we do with school books. Okay? We make it look like the Christopher Columbus discovered America. Shut the fuck up and shut. You know, we teach these kids bullshit. But if you really comb into it, if you pick up a history book, you can tell in the first 3 pages who wrote it. Okay? And that's the funny thing about history. If it was written by a Northern, it comes across one way. If it was written by a Southerner, it comes across another way. Okay? Now, in today's society, the way we work today, the Northerner, or the Democrats, I'm going to say today, they're not always like that. The Democrats are right. The Southerners are wrong. But that's not really true, right? That's not really, there's got to be a gray in the middle, and that's what I really try to do, is try to come up with the middle of the road of what really went on. And you want to know the best accounts, how you can find out what it was like in the South and what was going on, is to read actual writings of the people. That's why, even though it might be biased on what side they're on, it's more real. Because when somebody sits later and dictates and writes a book, it's clouded. It's misdirected. It's heavy. It's heavy on one side. You know what I mean? It's weighted. So Lincoln has this great fucking war. Okay, had to be had. Couldn't let evolution take its time. Couldn't let it work out like all the. You know what was really going to happen? I'll tell you what was really going to happen if Lincoln didn't jump in. You know what was going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. The fucking blacks would have rose up. They would have kicked the shit out of everybody, especially in the big towns. There was almost a more population of blacks than the whites. They would have rose up, slaughtered the shit out of the whites, okay? And they would have been fucking heroes. They would have been fucking heroes. But Lincoln, because of the Masons, had to make them, again, less than. He had to make them lower than. They're in need of help, in need of someone to babysit them. And that's how somebody portrayed the blacks that way, and we just carried on. We carried on today. We carried on with first black to pick their nose, first black to get a car, first black to be on the newscast. We always do that. That's from the Masons. The Masons learned a secret way of keeping people, keeping the blacks down, is what they're doing. And even today, by the way we're putting them on a pedestal, that's really not healthy. You're making them a focal point. You're making them the blacks. Oh, the blacks. My God, the blacks. First black to kick a field goal in a Super Bowl, and every fucking time. Why do we do that? Somebody started that. And my question always is, my question to that is, with our government doing that, for Black History Month, what the fuck do the Indians think? What the hell do the Mexicans think? We didn't make the Indians slaves. We just went out and mowed them all fucking down. But we don't have fucking, we don't have Indian month. We don't have Mexican month. We never have any of that. What do they feel like? They must be like, what do we fucking chop liver? What do we shit? But that's a whole nother thing. Racism is not born. You're not born with racism. Someone had to start it or teach it. Where did that southern prejudice or racism, where did that come from? Who started that? I believe it was the Freemasons. Anyway, that's a whole different ball of wax, though. So, now, we get to the point here. Lincoln wins the war, and then goes down and trashes the South. They burnt some of the towns down and just fucking... And made sure that they were done. Okay, that's your own country. That's kind of weird. This isn't another country that we defeated. This is your country. And you went and did that, okay? But what if Lincoln had a little bit of an ulterior motive? And there's going to be lots and lots of people that say, no, he was a humanitarian and he wanted to free the blacks. Well, first of all, why would the federal government dictate to a country that's supposed to be only 100 years old and supposed to be the United States of America? Why is already the federal government stepping in? Power. This is the first inkling where you're seeing a problem with power. Okay? Power's a problem. There's two things that are just pure evil that humans can't control. One is power. When we get in a position of power, we lose our shit. We really do. I don't think any human being should have too much power because it's fucking dangerous. Second thing is money. Okay? That doesn't get our country till later. But the government says, that's it. we're doing away with slavery, which is a good thing. It was very good, but it wasn't there yet. The South hasn't evolved to that point. It would have naturally happened anyway. You would have labor, and the South would have, but some of the towns the blacks would have rose up, and it didn't have to be like that. But Lincoln pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And I know, the South fired first. Yeah, if you keep fucking pushing a bunch of Southerners that you're telling them they're going to lose their fucking land and they're going to lose everything, and you tell them that we're going to also, we're going to keep pushing you and pushing you, and we're going to take everything you got. Of course they fired on him. So Lincoln wins. He builds up the federal army quicker than shit. Now, when he does this, he puts the Second Amendment to rest. Okay, gives Washington more power than it's ever had. That's the end. That day, and I'm not saying because of slavery. I think that the abolishment of slavery was fabulous. But that day marked the beginning of the end of the United States. Because you lose your Second Amendment. Not on paper. We still have the right to bear arms, but what would be the point? Bear arms was never meant to be for hunting or for self-protection from your home or any of that stuff. Our forefathers knew that our government was going to get too big and too powerful. And they knew there was going to be a day that we were going to have to rise up and kick the shit out of them. Okay? To put them in their place, because power was going to overwhelm them. One of our forefathers said that if you have a person in power in the federal government, you must have 2 other people watching over them at all times. That's how much they knew exactly what was going to happen. So our government, he builds up the army, puts the Second Amendment to rest. The rest is history, because you can't use your Second Amendment. You can fucking take up arms, but the United States fucking military is going to smash you like a fucking bug. We don't have the might anymore to beat the army. Everybody says, well, that's just the way it is. No, that's really not. There was another way we could have done it. We could have had what's called the People's Army, where meaning half of the army that we have for this country is run by the government. The other half of the military is run by the people, so that we each have equal might. Now, fast forward 100 years later, now we have no voice. You notice that if you don't believe what everybody else believes, you don't have a voice? You notice that? You know why? You know why? Because there's no reason to give us a voice. What's keeping our Second Amendment? What's holding us from having our First Amendment? The Second Amendment supported the First Amendment. So we don't have a voice, and what are we going to say? Darn it, and stomp our feet. We don't have a voice. That's not fair. Who cares? It doesn't matter if it's fair. We don't have any might. We don't have any way to do anything about it. So here we are today. Now we're getting fucked up the ass every goddamn day. Don't you notice that it's kind of strange that the government has fucking managed to rig this, that we work our nuts to the balls, okay? Nuts to the balls constantly for hundreds of years, father after father after forefather after forefather, hundreds of years, and we still only have 2 nickels to rub together, and we can barely make ends meet. What kind of system is that? If you were going to think up a system, would you make it like that? You had any system in the world to make up, you would make it like that. That you're always $1 short and pinned against the fucking wall. Hundreds and hundreds of years are going by. Wouldn't you say, gee, this fucking system sucks? No. They want us downtrodden. They want us barely. Could you imagine if we were all fucking well-to-do and we all could enjoy our aspirations and our hobbies and our lives? We're ants running around in fucking circles. We literally are just a bunch of fucking ants running around. And so if you watch and just sit and look at people, it's a fucking joke. We go from Walmart to work to home, to Walmart to work to home, like a big fucking circle, and a holiday, and we buy crap and we take crap back and we throw crap out, and it's just a fucking joke, okay? But the government loves that. Government, you notice the government gets short on money, they just fucking raise the debt ceiling. They just raise everything up. It's so fucking convenient for them. So, oh, we might have a shutdown. No, we'll just raise another $1 trillion fucking dollars. There you go. It's all fixed. And nobody, see, we become so passive, such a fucking joke. That men aren't men. Hey, when is the last time you saw a man, a guy, a fucking dude that fucking said, fuck this shit, I'll kick your fucking ass? And I know in this society now, ass kicking is just taboo. I'm going to tell you what, from now to the end of time, ass kicking is part of life. It is. It is part of life. Because you don't know where you stand until you get a fucking ass kicking. You don't know who's in charge until you get an ass kicking. And then you go, oh, okay, now I see. This country's a fucking joke. Our government's a fucking joke, and our people are fucking spineless. If we have a real war again, like World War II, we're fucking dead. We're fucking dead. Our fucking kids would not. I see these kids around. My kids, they can fight no fucking war. I don't even think they can fucking fire a gun. Really, it's so fucking sad. And we made them that way. We made them that way by taking down what made America America. All the shit you keep tearing down. And I'm not talking all in one day. It's piece by piece. The General Lee will get you back. He will. And it's going to come full force, and everybody's going to go, wow, son of a bitch. I really miss my freedom. You fucking assholes. Wake up.